ask you a question, when was the last time you learned something that actually changed your career or your life? Was it in a classroom or through YouTube, a podcast, a reel, or maybe just trial and error? When I started working in marketing more than a decade ago, I thought I was well prepared. I had read the books, I had sat in the lectures, I had the degree and certificates. But the first time I ran a real campaign, it failed spectacularly. And none of those textbooks had prepared me for the chaos of the real world. And over the last few years, since 2020, I have been teaching marketing myself. Not in a university classroom, but live sessions and professionals, founders, and with students. And I kept noticing the same gap. Education was stuck in theory, while the world was moving at the speed of algorithms. Universities were teaching the same 4 Ps of marketing, while businesses were trying to figure out TikTok. Certificates and degrees were handed out, but nobody was really prepared. And now there is a new twist: AI. AI can give you answers instantly. It can write your emails, draft your ad campaigns, even explain calculus in seconds. But here is the paradox: if AI can give you any answer, what does it even mean to learn anymore? That's what I want to explore with you today. How we need to reimagine education in the age of AI. Not just memorizing facts, not as chasing certificates or degrees, but as building judgment, adaptability, and human creativity. In 2020, I was working for the biggest retail group in India. And unlike most marketeers who work on 1 or 2 categories at a time, I was suddenly responsible to manage 10 to 15 brands in one go. Now, if you have ever worked in marketing, you know what that means. Every brand has a different personality and different set of problems. Managing all of them together was a chaos. And very quickly, I realized something. I could not do this alone. If I wanted to succeed, I had to build a second line of leaders, an army of people who could look at the problems the way I did, but also find their own solutions. So we created this culture inside my team: constant upskilling, constant communication, and a system where we were always cross learning from one campaign to another. If something worked for a fashion brand, we asked, can the same principle work for electronics? Over time, these lessons became templates and playbooks, practical frameworks that anyone in team could pick up and apply. Over time, we began creating playbooks for each category: fashion, food, FMCG, electronics, and even different market sizes. The more we democratized our thought process into these templates, the more I realized how much I love breaking things down. Not just what worked, but why it worked, and just as important, why it did not. And I discovered something about myself in the process. I loved breaking down my experiences into steps, into logic, into playbooks people can actually use into their day to day lives. I loved watching someone take that framework, apply it, and suddenly feel confident managing a brand worth 100 crores without me even being in the room. But here is the frustrating part. When I looked outside for training programs for my team, almost everything was either too basic or too theoretical. None of it came from people who had actually run campaigns, who had been in the trenches. That's when it hit me. Real education doesn't come from polished success stories. It comes from people who are willing to show their scars. I never planned to become an educator. I simply started sharing what I was learning and how I thought it should be translated into campaigns, how I analyzed results, what worked, what failed, and to my surprise, people found it far more useful than years of formal study. That was the seed. That's how my journey in education began. Over the years, I have noticed 2 big problems in education. The first is obsession with certificates. Everywhere you look, people are chasing certificates, from online platforms to short courses from universities to even if you are taking an online program with any educator. And don't get me wrong, certificates can open the first door. It might get you into an interview. But beyond that first door, it's useless if you are not understanding the nuances of your field. In all my years in corporate and even today through my friends still in the industry, I have rarely seen a hiring decision based on a certificate. Nobody says, oh, you have the piece of paper, you are hired. What matters is, are you fundamentally strong? Can you think? Can you solve problems? Can you execute? And that's the gap I see today. People are not evaluating curriculums based on whether they are business first, problem first, or pragmatic. They are just chasing another batch, another PDF to add to their LinkedIn profile. But education is not about collecting certificates or degrees, it's about building depth. The second problem is this: we are all in a rush. In the age of AI, where every other day a new tool or update is trending, people want to learn everything fast. They want quick hacks, instant prompts, shortcuts. But here is the irony: the faster we chase learning, the shallower it becomes. Because yes, AI can give you 10 different answers in 10 seconds, but it cannot give you judgment. It cannot give you taste. It cannot give you the ability to decide which answer is right for your situation. And that's where fundamentals come back into the picture. Marketing will always remain marketing. Your ability to tell a story, to understand your audience, to trust your gut, to read signals. AI can help you generate ideas. AI can save you time. AI can reduce cost. But if it doesn't help you drive real business outcomes, it's nothing more than a vanity tool. The danger is this: when we outsource our creativity entirely to AI, we all start sounding the same. And sameness has never built great brands or even great careers. So, for me, the big problem with education is not the lack of access, it's the lack of depth. We are chasing certificates, we are chasing speed, but the real winners will be those who build strong fundamentals and then use AI as a co pilot, not a crutch. So, if certificates do not guarantee learning and chasing speed only makes us shallow, then what does real learning look like? For me, it's combination of few things. First, you have to be coachable. Real learning begins with the willingness to unlearn what you already know, to let go of old assumptions, and then relearn what really matters in today's context. If you are not willing to be coachable, no mentor, no platform, no AI can save you. Second, learning works best in communities. We don't learn in isolation. We learn when we are surrounded by like minded people, when there is accountability, when there is peer to peer feedback. That's why most of my teaching today happens in small cohorts. Because when you have skin in the game, when others are watching, you don't just absorb knowledge, you apply it. Third, learning means doing. If you learn a concept but don't apply it, it will remain a theory forever. Knowledge becomes real only when you test it, when you fail with it, when you adopt it. That's why every framework, every playbook I share is designed to be used and not just remembered. Fourth, real education is built on trust. And sadly, this is where the system often fails us. Too many educators today see students as customer lifetime value. They give you just enough to upsell you into the next course or another tool or framework. But education is not about funneling people, it's about giving them complete end to end understanding. I believe people don't mind paying for high quality education. What they mind is being shortchanged. Trust is built when you give people everything you promised. Trust is built when you stay consistent, when you show up, when you are transparent, and both your scars and successes are visible to your audiences. And finally, real learning never ends. You can get your fundamentals strong the first time, but if you don't build on them, if you don't stay updated, if you don't keep applying critical thinking, creative thinking, storytelling, empathy, those fundamentals quickly become obsolete. Learning is not one-time course, it's a lifelong commitment. So to me, real learning is not certificates or degrees. It's certainly not hacks. It's not AI tools. It's being coachable. It's learning in communities. It's learning by doing. It's built on trust and its continuous journey. Now there is a new force rewriting the rules of learning: AI. I truly believe AI is a superpower. Because in today's world, information is commoditized. Someone starting their career today, in theory, can know and be as knowledgeable as I am in just 6 months. Not because I am replaceable, but because AI makes knowledge instantly available. But let's pause here. Was information ever the real problem? Even after the internet, after search engines, after explosions of websites, information was always at our fingertips. The real problem has never been access. The problem has always been application. And that's where AI creates a paradox. Yes, it curates information better. Yes, it gives you context based on your prompt. But if all of us start using the same tools in the same way, we end up being in the same place. Generic outputs, shallow learning or understanding, and a lot of noise. So, what's the real opportunity here? For me, AI is brilliant at helping you design the path of learning and step by step process, the resources, even the educators you should follow. But the real learning still happens when you lean in, when you apply effort, when you practice, when you exercise your judgment. For example, when I teach a live session, I give my students transcript afterwards. Now, that transcript on its own is just words, but if you take it into an AI tool, they can adopt it. You can use it for your own market, for your own business, for your own category, or at your different career stages. The AI personalizes it, but the application still comes from them. And that's the real key or highlight here. AI can give you all the options, but you still need to decide which option makes sense. You still need to connect the dots, and you still need to apply your taste, your experience, your judgment. And judgment, by the way, comes only from strong fundamentals. Now, here is how I personally approach it. I use a framework called RCTCO whenever I prompt AI. R stands for who should AI act as? C stands for what is the situation, which is context. T stands for task, what exactly do I want? C stands for constraint, what are the limits and rules? And O stands for output, in what format should it come back? When I do this, the results are not just better, they are usable, actionable. But even then, the final call is still mine. Now, let me show you a real example of what I mean. Here is a generic prompt that most people type into AI. Write me an ad for a skincare brand. And sure, AI will give you an answer, but it will be blunt, generic, and it will sound like 100 other ads that you have already seen on digital. Now let's apply RCTCO. The role I want to give AI is you are a senior copywriter for a global skincare brand. C is context. Context I want to give is the product is an organic moisturizer launching in India targeting women aged 25 to 40. The task I want to give AI is write a persuasive ad copy for Instagram. The constraint for AI is keep it under 20 words, avoid jargon, highlight natural ingredients. And O stands for output, which is present 3 ad variations in a table format. I want you to focus on output and constraint here. You have to define the boundary beyond which AI should not go. And now imagine the difference in output. One is generic, the other is actionable, specific, and useful. And the best part, you can apply this to anything: writing ad copy, building business plan, or even preparing for a TEDx talk like this one. So, to me, the age of AI is not about replacing learning, it's about accelerating it. What took me 6 months to learn about a new marketing channel, today someone can grasp it in 2 months. Why? Because AI has taken away the clutter of where to look for, whom to follow, how to stay updated. But here is the punchline: AI makes learning faster. Only humans can make learning deeper. And the future belongs to those who can do both. So, how do we fill these gaps? In my experience, upskilling happens in 3 stages. The first stage is functional. This is the execution level: setting up ads, writing copies, placing pixels, creating basic content. The truth is, most of this can be learned for free today with AI and with YouTube and multiple other freely available resources. The second stage is practical. This is where you go beyond execution into optimization, short term planning. understanding what to do when things do not go exactly as you planned. Here, you need someone who is actively working in the field, someone who knows how to apply fundamentals today, not 10 years ago. And third stage is strategic. This is where true growth happens. This is where you learn to think cross channels, build full funnel strategy plans, plan your budgets, define KPIs, and scale a brand. And for this, you need experts who are still in trenches, people who are building, scaling, and experimenting right now. And that's the gap I am working on to fill. Through my community of over 25,000 marketers, my masterclasses, and my digital playbooks focus on not only reteaching the basics, my focus is to helping people build beyond the basics. I believe real learning today happens through community driven education, where people learn in small cohorts, hold each other accountable, and apply frameworks to real world problems. And instead of static formulas, what we really need are playbooks, templates, and tools that evolve with platforms. Because the rules of digital marketing change every few months. But if you know how to stay updated and how to adopt your frameworks, you constantly stay relevant. Now, the big part of this is how to use AI in a better way. And here is what most people get wrong. They start with a tool. They say, which tool should I use? But that's a wrong question or a wrong starting point. The real question is, what problem am I trying to solve? If your problem is targeting the right audience, yes, AI can help you, whether through Meta, Google, or other platforms. But maybe your real problem is not audience at all. Maybe it is storytelling, maybe it's product market fit, maybe it's platform dynamics. And unless you have identified the problem, the tool is just a distraction. That's why I try to teach, don't just go ahead and start using a tool. Start with the challenge, work backwards, then let AI be your co pilot. Because at the end of the day, tools will keep changing. But if you know how to diagnose problems, build frameworks, and apply judgment, you will never be left behind. So, where does this leave us? Education is no longer about what we know. Information is everywhere. AI can give us answers in seconds. The real question is, how fast can we adopt? How deeply can we think? How responsibly can we use these tools? The future of education is not a degree. It's not even AI. It's the ability to keep learning, unlearning, and relearning together. So, my invitation to you is simple. The next time you sit down to learn, don't ask, what certificate will this give me? Ask, how will this make me think differently? How will this make me act differently? Because in the age of AI, the people who will thrive will not be the ones who use or who know about all the tools, but the ones that use or exercise their judgment. And that judgment is something only you can build. Thank you.